Good day! Today I am going to discuss the lessons in PatFit 1 Movement Enhancement for Physical Activities towards Health and Fitness. The first topic to be discussed is all about locomotor skills. When we say locomotor, it refers to body movements that move the body from one place to another. Jumping or leaping is a form of locomotion or movement in which an individual mechanical system propels itself through the air along a ballistic trajectory. Jumping can be distinguished from running, galloping, and other gaits where the entire body is temporarily airborne by the relatively long duration of the aerial phase and high angle of initial launch. Jumping is also a key feature of various activities in sports, including the long jump, high jump, and show jumping. Now let's talk about jump series. Jump training is a type exercise training that uses speed and force of different movements to build muscle power. It can improve your physical performance and ability to do different activities. It's a technique you can use in many different ways. For instance, you can do jump exercises to help train in basketball, volleyball, tennis, or any other activity that uses explosive movements. How jump series exercise works. Every time you land from a jump, your muscles get a stretch. That gives your next jump even more power. The combination of stretching and contracting your muscles whips them into shape. It's a fun alternative to an everyday strength training workout that boosts your muscle, power, strength, balance, and agility. You can either do a workout based on plyometrics or add some plyometric moves to your usual routine without giving it an entire session. There are benefits of jump exercise. So we have improved strength and power, build muscle, sports specific, injury prevention, improve biomechanics, increase heart rate and burn fat, coordination, and the last is fun. Now that we are through discussing jump series, let us now discuss linear movements. So what is linear movement? A majority of daily movement is performed in a linear plane, going forward or backward. Walking and jogging are typically linear movements. Linear actions like sprinting can help improve speed, but in most sports, the ability to move side to side just as important, if not more important, as speed. Linear motion is when all of a body moves in a line, straight or curve, with all parts moving in the same direction. Linear motion is movement in a straight line. Our body produces forces that causes angular motion to our joints that are then combined to cause linear motion of our bodies. So there are linear movement exercises. This includes running. Running is the way in which people travel quickly on their feet. It is a method of traveling on land. It is different to walking in that both feet are regularly off the ground at the same time. It is popular form of exercise. It is one of the oldest forms of sport. Running keeps the person fit and active, and it also relieves stress. Second is skipping. Skipping is locomotor skills that requires alternate motion from left side to the right side and continue to alternate from left to the right. Next and the last is leaping. Leaping is a locomotor movement characterized by a take-off on one foot, a long flat face, and a landing on the opposite foot. Although it is an extension of the sprint run, it differs in that it is a discrete skill with a clear beginning and end point. Now that we are through discussing about linear movements, let us now go discuss about lateral movement skills. Let's talk about lateral movement skills. Lateral movement is the ability to move laterally side to side. It is important in most sports. It is complemented by speed and quickness of both movement and change of direction. Side to side or lateral movement is very often missing from most of our training and exercise programs. We see plenty of front to back, up and down motions like lunges, squats, push ups, and pull ups, but oddly, we don't see many lateral movements. In certain sports, and most team sports in general, it could be argued that lateral quickness, lateral movements, and change of direction, which is heavily based on lateral movement, is the most important quality in an athlete's success. Practice lateral movement skills to improve our ability to move effortlessly and full speed on a game. Lateral movement is important in most sports. It is complemented by speed and quickness of both movement and change of direction, as what I have said earlier. It is the ability to move laterally side to side in response to the movement of a ball, pack, or opponent is one that can be practical and developed. So, there are benefits of lateral exercise. Imagine a day where you are only able to move backward and forward, and how much of your daily movement between work, exercise, and other activities would be prohibited. Linear movement forward and backward through an important part of how we go about routine functions are only one set of the directions in which our bodies move with how much of your day to day activity, as well as movement in any and all sports, happens beyond a linear path. It's surprising that many modern exercise machines and equipment are built to only facilitate the back and forth. Lateral exercise should be a part of any work regimen in order to train and prepare your body to optimally perform and move with strength in all directions. The benefits of lateral exercise include preventing injury. Lateral exercise movements strengthen the muscles that support important joint structures. Balance and coordination. Stabilizer muscles are used in lateral exercise, which can provide increased body balance and coordination. Adding variety to your workout. Lateral exercises are a great way to mix up your routine and give your body new challenges. Now that we are done discussing all the lessons under the first topic, which is all about locomotor skills, let us now discuss the next topic, which is all about the basic strength training exercise. The first lesson to be discussed is about knee dominant. So let's talk about it. Knee dominant movements are those which require movement around the knee joint. The knee joint also moves to allow movement. Movements in this manner target the anterior of the upper leg, the quadriceps muscle group. Knee dominant movements progress from double leg, both feet in contact with the ground, to single leg, one foot in contact with the ground. Progressing to single leg exercises, once you have mastered double leg movements, places more demands on your stability and supporting muscles to maintain the correct body alignment. Knee dominant movements can be categorized into two specific exercise patterns: squats and deadlifts. Squats generally look at having the resistance above the hips, whilst deadlifts refer to lifting resistance off the floor. The first exercise is stability ball squats, or the level 1. This is about squats double leg. So the stability ball squat is at level 1 as it uses the stability ball to maintain spinal alignment throughout the movement. It teaches the correct sequence of activation, and if someone lacks more control to maintain a straight spine, it allows them to perform the squat movement. So the target muscles we have two, the primary muscles and secondary muscles. For primary muscles, the target are gluteus maximus quadriceps, and the secondary muscles are erector spinae, rectus abdominis, transverse abdominis, adductors, abductors, hamstrings. Look out for knees turning in and out, heels coming off the floor, initiating movement through the knees, movement from the hip or upper body bends down or bows, shift laterally when pushing up. So the next exercise is body weight squats, or the level 2. This is a progression from the previous exercise because the core is involved more to keep the spine straight. So the target muscles, the for primary are gluteus maximus and quadriceps. Secondary muscles, erector spinae, rectus abdominis, transverse abdominis, adductors, abductors, and hamstrings. So look out for knees turning in and out, heels coming off the floor, initiating movement through the knees, movement from the hip, upper body moves, bends down and bows, shifting to one side when pushing up. Next is the goblet squat, or the level 3. The goblet squat is the prerequisite of the front squat, level 4, as it teaches the member greater core and thoracic control due to the weight being held just below the chin. At this stage, and for preparation at the front squat with a barbell, the member should work on shoulder mobility in order to hold the barbell in the correct position. So the target muscles for primary, the gluteus maximus and quadriceps. The secondary muscles, erector spinae, rectus abdominis, transverse abdominis, adductors, abductors, and hamstrings. So again, look out for knees turning in and out, heels coming off the floor, initiating movement through the knees, movement from the hip, upper body moves, bends down and bows, shift to one side when pushing up, thoracic spine flexing. Next exercise is the front squat, or the level 4, which is the barbell front squat. The front squat with a barbell requires greater range of movement at the elbow or shoulder joints to keep the weight in place. The weight being lifted will also be greater. Greater stability in the pelvic region is required. No movements to the left or right of favoring one foot to push up from. The spine should remain straight and drop down, keeping the weight above the heels. If the wrong technique is performed, then the weight is likely to fall forwards. This can be assessed using the first 3 pictures on the right, demonstrating poor technique and the member is not ready for this stage. So the target muscles for primary muscles, the gluteus maximus and quadriceps, the secondary muscles, erector spinae, rectus abdominis, transverse abdominis, adductors, abductors, and hamstrings. Look out for knees turning in and out, heels coming off the floor, initiating movement through the knees, movement from the hip, upper body moves, bends down and bows, shift to one side when pushing up, thoracic spine flexing, elbows dropping, bar not resting on shoulders. For the deadlift double leg, the first exercise is sumo deadlift, or the level 1, slightly wider base than a squat, feet outside shoulder width. This places more emphasis on the hamstrings compared to traditional deadlifts, focus on keeping the spine straight and core engaged. Progression starts with the box deadlift so the client gets used to movement, hips back first. Progress to a sumo deadlift from the floor, hand progress to feet as try 2 steps and the weight dropping down between the steps until the thighs are parallel, increasing the range of movement. So the target muscles for primary muscles, the gluteus maximus, hamstrings, quadriceps, adductors, erector spinae, and for secondary muscles, rectus abdominis, transverse abdominis, and abductors. Look out for knees turning in and out, heels coming off the floor, initiating movement through the knees, movement from the hip, upper body move, bends down and bows, knees not following line of the toes, shift to one side when pushing up, thoracic spine flexing, keeping spinal alignment. Next is trap bar deadlift, or the level 2. A trap bar offers the user a safer way to develop the deadlift technique, slowly increasing the workload on the lower back, erector spinae. Hands are switched to neutral position with the weight through the center of the body. This position allows for easy teaching and coaching. This is a progression due to the load principle, increased leg and hip drive, narrower stance, scapulate retraction, and the lower back is more involved. So, the target muscles for primary, the gluteus maximus, hamstrings, quadriceps, erector spinae. Secondary muscles, rectus abdominis, transverse abdominis, abductors, and adductors. Look out for knees turning in and out, heels coming off the floor, initiating movement through the knees, movement from the hip, or the upper body moves, bends down and bows. Knees that following line of the toes, shift to one side when pushing up, thoracic spine, flexing, keeping spinal alignment, knee and hip extension not at the same time. Next is barbell deadlift. The barbell deadlift or the level T is a progression from the trap bar as the center of the mass has changed as the bar is now slightly in front of the body rather than through the center line. There is also an increase on the strain on the lower back. The target muscles for primary muscles is or are gluteus maximus, hamstrings, quadriceps, erector spinae. Secondary muscles, rectus abdominis, transverse abdominis, adductors, and adductors. Look out for leg fully extending with the back still parallel to the ground, knees turning in and out, heels coming off the floor, initiating movement through the knees, movement from the hip or upper body move bends down and bows, knees that following line of the toes, shift to one side when pushing up, thoracic spine flexing, elbows dropping, keeping spinal alignment, knee and hip extension not at the same time. Next exercise is for single leg. First is split squat. The split squat is a stable exercise where the member takes up the position in the picture and just moves up and down, dropping the hips directly down to the floor. During this exercise, we are looking for range of movement. The back knee should be just above the floor, directly below the shoulders and hips. Look for movement of the knee turning in or out and loss of balance due to ankle rotation, front and back foot. So the target muscles for primary, gluteus maximus, quadriceps, gastrocnemius. For secondary, rectus abdominis, transverse abdominis, abductors, adductors, and hamstrings. Look out for knees turning in and out, heels coming off the floor, leaning forwards at the hips not dropping straight down, knee moving in front of the toes, back foot directly in line with the front foot. Next is the goblet split squat. Due to holding a dumbbell below the chin, there is an increase in stimulus. This requires greater thoracic and core control to stay in an upright position, prevent flexion forwards, look for movement of the knee turning in or out and loss of balance due to ankle rotation, front and back foot. If this occurs, start with a really light weight. If still unstable with a light weight, drop back to the split squat, hands behind the head as they are still not ready for this stage. So the target muscles for primary are gluteus maximus, quadriceps, gastrocnemius, adductors, and abductors. For secondary muscles, we have rectus abdominis, transverse abdominis, abductors, adductors, and hamstrings. Look out for knees turning in and out, heels coming off the floor, leaning forwards at the hips, not dropping straight down, knee moving in front of the toes, back foot directly in line with the front foot. Next is the barbell split squat or in shoulder rather. Placing the barbell across the anterior deltoids, this increases the workload on the core, thoracic and lumbar spine to keep the spine in a straight position. Balance needs to be monitored as the member's movement may not be directly down. The client may move left or right, slight rotation at the pelvis or hips. So the target muscles for primary are gluteus maximus, quadriceps, and gastrocnemius. Secondary muscles: rectus abdominis, transverse abdominis, abductors, adductors, and hamstrings. Look out for knees turning in and out, heels coming off the floor, leaning forwards at the hips, not dropping straight down, knee moving in front of the toes, back foot directly in line with the front foot. Next is the Bulgarian split squat with the dumbbell. The Bulgarian split squat is a progression from the split squat as there is more emphasis on one leg. This increase that demands on stability, keeping the core and the thoracic engaged throughout. Make sure the front knee does not go past the toes. Drop straight down with the supported knee directly below the hips and shoulders. So the target muscles of this exercise are for primary, gluteus maximus, quadriceps, and gastrocnemius. For secondary muscles are rectus abdominis, transverse abdominis, hamstrings, adductors, and abductors. Next is Bulgarian split squat with a barbell. The Bulgarian split squat with a barbell progresses from the dumbbell split squat as the thoracic and core have to stay strong to prevent flexion forwards. The weight is out to the side, which will challenge the member's balance. Any discrepancies where the member does not drop straight down with shoulders and hips straight are likely to be highlighted. Target muscles for primary are gluteus maximus, quadriceps, and gastrocnemius. For secondary muscles, rectus abdominis, transverse abdominis, hamstrings, adduction, and abductors. Look out for knees turning in and out, heels coming off the floor, leaning forwards at the hips not dropping straight down, knee moving in front of the toes, back foot directly in line with the front foot. When pushing up through one foot, compare the other. Stride to far forward, stride forwards not big enough. The next exercise is step ups. A step up is a progression due to the emphasis being on a single leg, and we are now adding movement to the exercise. Due to movement, there is an increased demand for more stability. Target muscles for primary are gluteus maximus, quadriceps. For secondary target muscles are rectus abdominis, transverse abdominis, and hamstrings. So look out for knees not following the line of the toes, opposite leg not straight, opposite foot coming off the floor, and excessive lean forwards, back almost parallel to the floor. Next is the reverse lunge exercise. The dynamic mobility will put more stress through the knee joint as the member is now stepping into and out of position. Keep the core engaged throughout. The lunge movement can be split into accelerative and declarative movements. Walking lunges, reverse lunge, and slide board lunges are accelerative. So the target muscles for primary of this kind of exercise are gluteus maximus, quadriceps, soleus, adductor magnus. For secondary, rectus abdominis, transverse abdominis, hamstrings, adductors, abductors, gluteus medius, gluteus minimus, and gastrocnemius. Look out for knees turning in and out, heels coming off the floor, leaning forwards at the hips, not dropping straight down, knee moving in front of the toes, back foot directly in line with the front foot, unstable when pushing up through one foot, compare the other, stride to far forwards. Next exercise is the pistol squat. The single leg back squat is a progression with regards to the greater control of the torso to maintain balance and neutral spine. With the chest slightly leaning forwards, the hip movement does not change as it is still pushed back or distributing the weight over the heel. The movement is less stable as only one foot is in contact with the ground. Raise hands for balance and the outside leg remains straight and down towards the floor if on a backs. So the target muscle for this exercise for primary, gluteus maximus, quadriceps, soleus, adductor magnus. For secondary muscles, rectus abdominis, transverse abdominis, hamstrings, adductor, abductors, gluteus medius, gluteus minimus, and gastrocnemius. Look out for knees turning in and out, heels coming off the floor, and stable on one foot. Losing spine and core engagement, shifting weight when pushed back up to the start. So, that's all in knee dominant. Now that we are through with the first lesson, which is about knee dominant, let's now discuss about hip dominant. Okay, so let's talk about hip dominant. Hip dominant movements are those which required movement around the hip joint, with minimal movement around the knee joint. Movements in this manner target the posterior of the upper leg, the hamstring muscle group. Other muscles that are utilized include the glutes and erector spinae. Hip dominant movements progress from double leg, both feet in contact with the ground, to single leg, one foot in contact with the ground movements. With a roster of muscles ranging from the powerful glutes to the small and agile abductors, the hips control practically all your movements. Almost every endurance athlete overworks some hip muscles while underworking others, causing severe imbalances. Runners are infamous for having weak hip abductors, or adductors rather, the muscles on the side of the hip that help you step laterally, while cyclists tend to have massive quads and tiny glutes. So there are 7 hip exercises under hip dominant. The first one is single leg squat. How it works. Using your hips and glutes one leg at a time will reveal imbalance and eventually help correct it. If you have poor mobility, start by using a bench or box to land. You will want the added stability. Next is the barbell deadlift. What it works. One of the most effective exercises for developing full body strength. This move targets the muscles at the back of the hips while engaging the core for overall stability. Next is hip extension. What it works, also known as donkey kicks. This isolates the gluteus maximus, which is commonly weak in cyclists and anyone whose sport makes them quad dominant. Next is standing hip abduction. What it works, the standing hip abduction primarily targets the hip flexors, but also hits the groin and hip adductors. Next is the monster walk. What it works, monster walks are great for the hip abductors, or adductors rather, in the outer thigh and the lateral glute. They also fire up the hip flexors and extensors. Next is the barbell back squat. What it works? No workout is complete without squats, which strengthen the glutes, hamstrings, and quads while engaging your core and back. Next is a single leg deadlift. What it works? Switch up the regular deadlift to help improve hip mobility and stability. Now that we are done discussing the lesson about hip dominant, we will be now discussing a lesson which is about lifting and throwing. So let's talk about throwing first. So throwing is fundamental to a multitude of sports and activities. It is the act of projecting or casting something through the air, especially with a rapid motion of the arm and wrist arrests, shootings, and throwing of stones. Throwing is fairly natural activity for a person. Everyone at some point in time has thrown someone or some object at a person. There are different ways of throwing depending on whether you are throwing a baseball, a discus, a frisbee, a javelin, a basketball, or even a ball of yarn. You can throw gently or hard, and you can throw underhand, overhand, or sidearm. However, when most people think of throwing, the image that comes to mind is probably a basic overhand throw. So we have types of throwing, no? The first is the overhand throw. This is a foundational sports manipulative skill, executed with the hand brought forward and down from above the level of the shoulder. Next is the underhand throw, performed with the hand below the level of the elbow or the arm below the level of the shoulder. This is executed with hand. We also have four type throwing events. First is the javelin or javelin throw. It is a part of a track and field event. A javelin or a spear about 8 feet long is used to throw for maximum distance. The participant runs first to within a predetermined area and then throws the javelin. Shot put. The track and field event where the participants throw a heavy metal ball for maximum distance. Hammer throws. An Olympic track and field event in which a heavy weight at the end of a wire is thrown for distance. And the last is discus throw. Athletes attempt to throw a heavy disc object far as they can. Now let us discuss lifting. Lifting is moving or bringing something from a lower level to a higher one, or picking up something from the ground, from a table, especially something small or light. Lift is to move something or someone upwards to a higher position, especially something heavy, either by using hands or a machine. Weightlifting, lifting a baby, lifting a heavy box, a table or a chair, and lifting a container of water is example of lifting activities in our daily living. Improper lifting of heavy objects may lead to injuries. And here are the proper lifting techniques that may consider in preventing injuries. First is keep a wide base of support. Your feet should be shoulder width apart, with one foot slightly ahead of the other. Karate stance. Squat. Squat down, bending at the hips and knees only. If needed, put one knee to the floor and your other knee in front of you. Bend at a right angle or half kneeling. Next is keep good posture. Look straight ahead and keep your back straight, your chest out and your shoulders back. This helps keep your upper back straight while having a slight arch in your lower back. Next is slowly lift. By strengthening your hips and knees, not your back, keep your back straight and don't twist as you lift. Hold. The load as close to your body as possible at the level of your belly button. Use your feet to change direction, by taking small steps. Lead with your hips as you change direction. Keep your shoulders in line with your hips as you move. And last, set down your load carefully, squatting with the knees and hips only. Keep in mind, do not attempt to lift by bending forward. Bend your hips and knees to squat down to your load and keep it close to your body. And straighten your legs to lift. Never lift a heavy object above shoulder level. Avoid turning or twisting your body while lifting or holding a heavy object. So those are the lessons under the second topic, which is basic strength training exercise. So let us now be discussing the next topic, which is all about health eating habits. So the first lesson to be discussed is about fuel for performance. Being healthy is much more than not being sick. Optimal health indicates a high level of functioning and is often characterized by vitality, healthy lifestyle, active involvement in sports, and sense of harmony with nature and humanity. Sad to say, many people take health for granted. They always assume that they are physically healthy when they are good and free to choose easy-go-lucky lifestyle, believing that their condition will remain so. Health is a matter of choice. Good health requires proper diet and nutrition pattern with well-planned activities and exercise, which will also help an athlete to reach its maximum and optimum performance. Good health is indeed fundamental to nation's development, and it is also a vital economic asset. Good health is one of our most prized possessions. In the context of performance, good health plays a vital role for an athlete to perform very well. In fact, almost everyone wants to enjoy good health now and in the future, so they can live to enjoy what they have. Health offers enjoyable physical activities and lifestyle approaches that give value to a high level of well-being. Good health must be everyone's commitment for a self-fulfilled life. So, take note that having a healthy lifestyle or having a good health is the fuel for performance of an athlete or even for a person who wants to live a healthy lifestyle. So let's talk about it more. Okay. To change the focus, here are 5 rules to fuel the performance. First is prime time. Prioritize your workouts by fueling up before and after vigorous exercise and longer workouts lasting more than an hour. Drink fluid and eat a little food before an early morning workout and after several hours have elapsed since your last meal. This could include fruit or a granola bar in a glass of water or a smoothie. Next is rethink your drink. Hydration is important for strength, speed, stamina, recovery, injury prevention, and cognition. Too little or too much fluid can be a problem. The goal is not to play catch up, but to be proactive with fluid intake. According to the Institute of Medicine, adult women should drink 9 8-ounce glasses or 70 total ounces of fluid a day. Adult men should drink 13 to 8-ounce glasses or 100 total ounces of fluid a day. These are baseline recommendations with additional fluid required for exercise. Next is create a great plate. To optimize performance in body functioning and composition, the goal is inclusive eating for consuming foods with protein, carbohydrates, and fat. This allows for tremendous variety in food choices but does not shortchange the body. So exercising muscles need carbohydrates like grains, potatoes, fruits, and vegetables as the fuel source for endurance and high-intensity activities, like protein such as meats, poultry, fish, eggs, dairy, soy foods, beans, nuts, and seeds for strength and muscle rebuilding, and fat such as oils, nuts, seeds, avocado, mayonnaise, and salad dressing as the energy source for longer duration activities. Next is be supplement savvy. Supplements are an enhancement to the diet, not a replacement for food. So take note, do not make your medicine as your food. Rather, make your food as your medicine. Taking a supplement to correct a deficiency or to augment an inadequate diet is a prudent and economical approach. And the last is treat the body right or treat your body right. An active body needs time to rest and recover. So have an adequate sleep because it is critically important. Eating more evenly throughout the day instead of uploading or consuming the majority of your calories at the end of the day. Places less load on the gut before the bed. Being mindful of caffeine intake and avoiding excessive alcohol are strategies for self-care. If one is interested in changing body composition through increasing muscles, mass, decreasing body fat or both, gradual, attainable, realistic, and affordable strategies work best. Okay, so those are factors or rules rather to fuel the performance. So we're done discussing the lesson 1 in this topic, under this topic of health eating habits, which is the fuel for performance. Let us now go discuss the lesson 2, which is all about poor dietary habits. So let's talk about it. Dietary habits are actually the food choices preferred by persons in their daily life. They differ from person to person. A healthy dietary habit helps an individual to stay fit and well throughout his life. Healthy diet includes fruits, vegetables, cereals, water, low-fat, dairy products, and many more. So dietary habits are the habitual decisions an individual or culture makes when choosing what foods to eat. The word diet often implies the use of specific intake of nutrition for health or weight management reasons. Although humans are omnivores, Each culture and each person holds some food preferences or some food taboos. This may be due to personal tastes or ethical reasons. Individual dietary choices may be more or less healthy, and dietary habits and choices play a significant role in the quality of life, health, and longevity. So, how does poor nutrition affect us? Poor nutrition can impair our daily health and well being and reduce our ability to lead an enjoyable and active life. In the short term, poor nutrition can contribute to stress, tiredness, and our capacity to work. And over time, it can contribute to the risk of developing some illnesses and other health problems, such as being overweight or obese, tooth decay, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart diseases and stroke, type 2 diabetes, osteoporosis, some cancers, depression, and eating disorders. So, there are steps to good nutrition, and it's easier than you think. A good place to start is to, first, have a good variety of health foods from the 5 food groups each day. For more information, see the Health Eating for different ages and stages and Health Eating Tips sections. And second, aim for 2 serves of fruit and 5 serves of vegetables each day. Third, only occasionally eat sugary, fatty, or salty food and then only in small amounts. Fourth, drink fresh, clean tap water instead of sugary drinks. Sixth, switch over to healthy recipes that look and taste good. Seventh, plan your meals ahead and shop for healthy ingredients. And the last, enjoy cooking and eating healthy food with family or friends and without distractions such as the television. So, healthy eating plan gives your body the nutrients it needs every day while staying within your daily calorie goal for weight loss. So, it is advisable to make a healthy eating plan. A healthy eating plan also will lower your risk for heart disease and other health conditions, so always bear with this. Plan your eating habits. Planning a daily menu isn't difficult as long as each meal and snack has some protein, fiber, complex carbohydrates, and a little bit of fat. Here's what you need to know about each meal. Eating breakfast will help you start your day. A mild or a mid-morning snack is totally optional. Lunch is often something you eat at work or school. A mid-afternoon snack is also optional. And dinner is a time when it's easy to overeat. And a complex carbohydrate-rich evening snack may help you sleep.